Release the Kraken! It's a tale as old as time, a rivalry to end all rivalries. I'm talking about Disney versus DreamWorks. If you don't know about the feud between Disney and DreamWorks, go ahead and do a YouTube search after watching this video. But long story short, because of bad blood between the two companies, they often have a similar movie coming out at the same time with slight variations. If you look at Shrek, it's basically a hate letter to Disney. So I don't want to talk about the feud. I do want to talk about the main characters of two of their newer releases. Ariel from the live-action Little Mermaid and Ruby Gillman from Ruby Gillman Teenage Kraken. For the purpose of this video, we're going to focus just on the live-action Ariel and not the animated Ariel, but actually Disney did a great job of keeping true to the animated Ariel that we all grew to love as kids in the new live-action. But there are some slight differences, so we're just going to focus on the live-action Ariel. Now, as I said, Disney and DreamWorks like to keep their movies similar to each other when they have new releases, and it's no different with these two headstrong female characters. They are basically mirror images of each other. On the one side, you have Ariel, who lives in the sea and grew up in the sea and has spent all her life until her teenage years in the sea. But she wants to go to land and become a human. On the flip side, we have Ruby Gillman, who has spent her whole life on land, even though she's a sea creature, and wants to go back. Both of their parents do whatever it takes to keep them from living their dream of switching where they live. Well, actually, Ruby Gillman just wants to go to the sea. She doesn't necessarily feel like she needs to live there. And I think Ariel kind of is the same way. She doesn't really need to live there, but she would like to experience what it is to be human. They both are able to realize their dream once they save the love of their life. Ariel goes and saves Eric, and Ruby goes and saves Connor after a promposal goes wrong. Major difference in this part of the story is how their parents react. As we know, Ariel's dad goes on a rampage and goes crazy and gets extremely upset when he finds out that his daughter saved a landlubber. Ruby's mom, however, tries to comfort her and wants to explain why it's dangerous for her to go back to the sea, but she doesn't tell the whole story, which makes Ruby want to go back to experience the sea once again and learn how to control her Kraken power. Now, another similarity is that both of them have to hide their true identities, at least at the beginning of the movie, because the humans of their world consider their species to be evil. We see in The Little Mermaid, the shipmates of the boat that Eric is on are trying to kill the mermaids. And even Eric's mother blames mermaids for his father's death. In the Teenage Kraken, we have the crazy captain that goes after the Kraken and thinks that they are evil and that they are a monster. And in the end, when their true identity is discovered, the people of their community finally take them in and realize that they're not really all that bad. In both of their stories, the villain also becomes larger than life. However, in Ruby's case, she also becomes huge, whereas Ariel still stays the same size that she has always been and is still able to defeat the villain. The cool thing I think about both of these movies is they both get to be the hero of their story, but they don't do it alone. In The Little Mermaid, Eric helps Ariel defeat Ursula, and in Ruby Gillman, the Teenage Kraken, her mother and grandmother help defeat the Little Mermaid. Now, I say The Little Mermaid because they actually mention at the end of the movie, once the mermaid is captured, she's like, "I'm just a little mermaid." And I thought this was a great jab at Disney itself, and it made me giggle a little. And I think the fact that both of them have help, I think that's a good thing. I know a lot of newer movies want the female hero or heroes to go in and do it for the girls and do it for all female kind, but I think it's important for especially kids to know that they can ask for help if needed. They don't need to do everything themselves. I'm not saying that they shouldn't try, because in both cases they do try to do it themselves, but when it became too much for them, they both had to ask for help. But that does bring me to a different in the two of Ariel was kind of thrown into the human world and had to figure out how to be a human all on her own, whereas when Ruby went into the sea, she had help to learn about her Kraken powers from her grandmama. And also, although they both came from royalty, Ariel was raised in royalty. She kind of knew the traditions and privileges that came along with being a royal mermaid, whereas Ruby lived the normal life and did not really know about the royal privilege and what it was was expected of her to become a royal. And Ariel gets to continue to live that royal life because she and Eric hook up, but Ruby goes back to her normal life. That is what she wants. And speaking of lessons, these two are way too trusting of strangers, and both get stabbed in the back by those said strangers. Ariel by Ursula and Ruby by the mermaids. So I guess that's a roundabout way of showing that strangers shouldn't be trusted, at least not outright. And if their parents would have explained to them and actually taught them the dangers of said stranger, it would have probably been better for everybody. But instead, their parents try to keep them in the dark, and that's what causes them to trust the stranger. It's like parents that don't teach their kids how to safely use the internet and just are like, no, we're just going to keep you away from the internet. They're actually teaching the kid once they're on the internet that they should trust the internet and the people on it, which is very dangerous, as you can see in these two tales. And also, like many people, they do have their family issues. They do realize that their family members are some of the most important people that they'll ever have in their lives. And once their parents realize that they can't protect them forever and always, and they have to tell them the truth and how to protect themselves, the relationships of the family become so much stronger. So all in all, both these movies portray a very strong, independent female character, but they're still not over the top, woohoo, girl power. They are somewhat grounded to earth and still know that they can't do everything by themselves. They do occasionally have to ask for help, which I'm sorry, I think is important for everybody, not just females, but males as well, that it's okay to ask for help when you need it and not stress over every little thing because you decide you don't need the help. And if you haven't had a chance to watch either of these movies, I would definitely suggest going to go see them while they're still at the theater. They are both a lot of fun, especially if you look at it as a Disney versus DreamWorks type thing. It definitely makes it a lot of fun and more enjoyable to see these two back to back. So until next time, geeks, keep on swimming, subscribe, like, and share this video, and I'll see you next time. Later.